meeting of Affairs and Agencies to order. Looking for approval of the agenda. Motion and support, additions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Are you going to note the corrections to the round appointment?
We can. As you look through the list of the appointments, there's a number I think you'll note that are vacant. There were no applicants for them, and with one of them, I think there were 4 or 5 applicants showing for the Parks Board. Ted Hillary was one listed there, and that's actually an applicant for the BRA appointment. So if you can make note of that in your hand notes there. I think that was the only correction. Yeah. So with that slight adjustment, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Public comment. Anybody from the public, including anybody that's here for an appointment that would like to speak, please step up to the mic.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Rand. I'm applying for one of the open Parks Board positions. I've been the Road Commission representative on the Parks Board for the last 2.5 years, roughly, give or take a month. I'd like to stay there. I've enjoyed my time there, and I think we currently have a Parks Board that actually communicates very well with each other, and I'd like to remain part of it. So any consideration you give to keep me there, I'd greatly appreciate. Thank you, and have a great day.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Ted Hillary, and I'm applying for a position on the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. I'm a retired Consumers Energy employee. I'm chairman of the board for the Center for Family Health, and also I'm an active member of Allegiance Health, HIO, or Health Improvement Organization, which is a health strand of the Jackson 2020. My term as an employee at Consumers Energy, I was on a facilities team that planned the construction for the new site, One Energy Square, and that would require a considerable amount of removal of contaminated soil and replacement of that so that we could start the construction on that site. And we were fortunate at that time to have credit, so that I have helped offset the cost of that. On the Center for Family Health 3 years ago, we acquired the property that was the former Art Main used car lot. And when we bought that, we knew well that it was evaluated as a contaminated site. So in the process of building on that site, we had to remove a considerable amount of soil, and that had to go to an authorized disposal site at our expense. And on the south side of that property, which was where we put in a geothermal system, we discovered that in the 1900s that used to be a railroad site. And so in the process of digging those holes for that, and we discovered a lot of railroad ties, spikes, road bed, and foundation for the former structure that was on that site. Also on the corner of Trail and Jackson Street, there used to be a coal company, the Webb Coal Company, and underneath that site we found 2 storage tanks that were filled with water, fortunately, so they were easily removable. So, and across the street, we recently acquired that property that was the former sales floor for Art Main, which also had a service center, paint shop, and also the body shop. In the demolition of that place, we had to make sure that we took care of all of the asbestos that was in there, plus the soil on the floor and everything else. But since it was just a parking lot, we encapsulated the soil so that it wasn't a contamination that was exposed to people. So on the HIO, I'm serve on a nutrition team, which has familiarized me with the opportunities in our community to take vacant residential space and turn them into vegetable gardens if it's possible. But some of those sites are not clean and have to be treated accordingly. So I'm not an expert on brownfield, but I've had some experience with the process of doing it and what the cost is and how it can convert some of these properties into productive use for the community. So if you have any questions of me, I'd be glad to answer those. No? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hillary.
Good morning. John Wilson. I'm here this morning to introduce myself as a nominee for one of the 2 County Parks and Recreation Board openings. Born and raised and still residing in the city of Jackson, I truly understand the value our park system has on the quality of life for the citizens of Jackson County. With the county facing a challenging budget this year and into next, a passionate and reasonable approach in funding our parks and recreation system is vital in rewarding the citizens and our visitors an experience second to none. If given the opportunity to serve on the County Parks Board, I would advocate the importance Jackson County's parks and recreation are today and into the future of Jackson County. Thank you for your consideration.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to committee items. First up are the minutes from the May 13th, 2013 committee meeting. Motion and support. Questions, comments, or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. First appointment is the Department of Human Services. There were no applicants for it. It's one that we'll have to carry over till next month again. Likewise with the first two Agricultural Preservation Board appointments, which are items C and D on the agenda. And then moving down to the Ag Preservation Board, item E on the agenda. That's a commissioner appointment.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Commissioner Lechka.
Any other nominations? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. County Building Authority, item F on the agenda. Current member is Rick Shealy, and surprisingly, Rick Shealy is the applicant. And I see no other applicants. Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Parks and Recreation, item G on the agenda. This is a appointment where we have 4 applicants, and again, Ted Hillary is listed there, but that's down on the BRA. So we have Seats, Rand, and Wilson are the applicants.
For which position would that be? The 13 or the ending in 14? Just for clarification?
Yeah, we'll fill them in order, and if I can remind the commissioners to use your microphones, please. So, you're nominating... Yeah, let's follow in order of the spots there, and I don't take the order listed on the sheet for the applicants for that each specific one. I've taken it that we can, unless the administrator believes they've applied for a specific one. Okay. Let's fill them in order then that are listed, which would be the one expiring in 13 first, if we could.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Jan Seitz for the 13th application.
Okay, any other nominations for the 2013 slot? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Filling the 2014, I believe it is, slot.
Yes, I'd like to recommend Mike Rand name be forwarded to the full board. Support.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Both names will be forwarded to the full board. Down to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, which is item H on the agenda. And this is one that Mr. Hillary had applied for.
Support.
Any other nominations from the floor? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Item I on the agenda are the upcoming appointments, which are none at this time. J, District Court Quarterly Report. I think I saw Tammy Bates sitting here.
Good morning. quarterly report for district court is not very exciting. There's nothing new to report. All of our monthly reports, I'll remind you, are online for you to look at each month so that you can see how we're progressing through the month. At the end of the first quarter, there's nothing new. We're staying pretty much status quo, caseload-wise, collections-wise, with where we were at this time last year. So there's nothing glaring there unless any of you have any questions in reference to any of that.
Tammy, just as a suggestion, we've got to figure a way to get it transitioned over, I think, at least for the board packet. That's what you two were just talking about, I'll bet.
Yes. I believe in the past that link was there.
We have to
Okay.
make it easy for commissioners, Tammy.
Okay. Is there something I need to do on my end?
No, I think they'll just embed the link on board docs, and when we get there, we can just click on it. It'll take us right to the same report.
Great.
That way it should be hands-off for you.
Great.
Tammy, I think you also had a grant up, which is item K on the agenda.
That's correct.
Take it away.
Okay. We have two grants that we would like permission from all of you to reapply. One is the Community Corrections grant. That grant has been in place for several years. It first was run by the Sheriff's Department. We took that over a few years ago. We don't plan on having any drastic changes in the amount that we're requesting. I want to remind you that there is not a match for this grant, no match, and all of the employees that are involved in this program are contract employees paid directly through the grant. So there are no actual costs to the county. The second grant is the mental health grant. That one has been in existence for 6 years. It's run through Judge Claren, and we're requesting permission to reapply for that grant as well. Again, all of the employees that are in that are employed through that grant are contract employees. There is no match for this grant, and we've run it successfully now for 6 years. So permission to reapply for both of those grants.
Hey, Mike, do these go to the full board, or do they get approved right here? Right.
One is roughly $215,000, the other is roughly $330,000.
Okay. Let's deal with them one at a time. We'll take the first grant first, if we can have a motion on it separately.
I'll move to recommend to the district court to continue applying for the community corrections grant.
Support.
Motion and support, questions or comments? And this will be forwarding it to the full board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
And I'd like to make a motion to forward to the full board the district's renewing or reapplying for the 2014 Mental Health Court Grant.
A motion and support, questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank
Is that
you.
it for you?
I think so. Thanks.
Front of the court, Sarah.
Good morning, Sarah Hoditz for the front of the court. First, I wanted to apologize. I was under the impression that oral presentations meant no paper agenda submitted to you, so you don't have one in front of you. I will get that to you right away, so lesson learned on my part. I had no idea. First, I wanted to talk a little bit about our local collection efforts. The State Court Administrator's Office recently submitted a document that indicated that Jackson County is currently 4th in the state in local collections, and that's behind Wayne County, Oakland County, and Genesee County. So that's a huge accomplishment for Jackson, which is considered to be a middle-sized or a medium-sized county to really out-collect local payments with the counties like Kent County, Ottawa County, some of the larger counties. So we're very proud of that accomplishment. This quarter, we collected locally just over $379,000 in local payments, so that's huge. We're redesigning our current show cause process. In the past, we've had a bottlenecking where clients have been waiting in our lobby. The bottlenecking has been through the referee process, so we're redesigning that to get clients in and out faster, to increase collections, to try to work with our clients to find out what the problem is before it turns into a judicial issue. So that seems to be helping as far as the bottlenecking, and we're going to be collecting stats to see if that improves our collections as well. It's very early at the present time to know if it's going to be working yet or successful. We also have a fee project underway where we're sending out a mass mailing to many of our cases that are only open for fees that are remaining open. This is a primary source of revenue for our office, and traditionally every year we get good collections on this. So that is currently underway and being launched. The state recently launched a state arrears discharge project, and this is an exciting project for us to start working with. The state essentially has piloted a project where they want to reduce and eliminate uncollectible debt, that's child support arrears that's due the state of Michigan. So they've allowed us, from the client's perspective, if they apply for this program, to go through their income, their involvement with their children, a whole slew of criteria, and possibly discharge or waive all or part of the arrears that are due the state. And just as an example, we had an individual that owed over $106,000 in back child support, and through this program we were able to eliminate over $50,000 in back child support. And this was due the state, it wasn't due the client, the mother in this case. So it just made everything easier for both parties because they didn't feel like they were a deadbeat dad, they didn't feel like they had this debt overwhelming them. So it's a really exciting project. It's also going to help our incentives because our case counts and our arrears that we have on our books are going to decrease significantly, which should help our federal funding. So we're going to be launching some public outreach to try to get clients involved with this, to try to get them moving forward and apply for it so that we can get this debt reduced significantly. Regarding our HPO and workplace environment improvement projects, our office held a winter retreat in December to brainstorm ideas to improve our office environment, as well as to do some team building and reduce the barriers between management and staff. Some of the top issues were relating to job satisfaction, were the flexibility in the work schedule, as well as the view of the front of the court as it relates to other county agencies. Our staff are very concerned that the front of the court has kind of a black eye. It's not everybody's favorite agency, so to speak. So they really want to focus on improving relationships between the other county agencies as well as the commissioners as well. So we're going to be taking steps to improve those relationships. Our fiscal year budget 2013, we recently received the actual amount of our CRP funding, and we're finding that there is a deficiency, and I've spoken to Mike and Adam about that as well. So we're going to be working at getting those numbers organized and then submitted to you for a budget amendment. But there is a shortfall there, which traditionally happens every year because we're using two-year estimates for that. So, any questions? Okay.
Sarah, thank you.
Thank you.
Item M on the agenda, the Youth Center report.
Good morning. I'm Patrick Ruba from the Youth Center. Before you have our second quarterly report. The first item is detention. At the time, our capacity at the Youth Center for Detention was 25. The average capacity rating was 24.6, and our max capacity is 24. So currently, though, today, we have a little reprieve in our numbers. We're at 22. On RTP, which is our treatment program, at the time of the report, we had 9 in-building and we had 2 referrals with a max capacity of 12. Currently, those 2 referrals have been taken in and are in the program, so we're at 11. We also completed our licensing, our renewal licensing. We had 0 citations, so we're really proud of that. And then finally, we've hired our assistant director, Jeremy Burns. Most of you have met him. He's a past employee of the Youth Center and the court system, and his last employer was Lenawee School District. Any questions?
Pat, on the max capacity, is there any penalty for being over capacity for any length of time or not?
There's, no, as long as we are not double bunking, we're fine. The only problem, if we go over 50, then we would be, that's our license, is 50 beds. So for detention, we have 24 on that unit. We do have an empty hallway on our treatment side. Back when we started to cut staff and ISD cut teachers, we no longer could, because the program used to be capacity of 22. So now we're down to 14, so we have an empty wing. So if there's extra kids, we put them over there. But what the increase over 24 means we have to call in additional staff, and that's usually creating overtime.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? Thank you, sir. Equalization, Ruth Scott.
Good morning. I'm not sure how to bring up a PowerPoint here.
Did you bring it on a phone?
I do.
That's probably the easiest way.
Is it? Oh, I didn't bring it. No, I talked to...
Okay, let me pull it up.
Okay. Sorry for the delay.
We'll have to get you your own sign-in, Ruth.
I do have mine. I was told it would be up and all I'd have to do is click on it, so. There we go. The SR right there, first one.
The staff report, or do you want the listen to?
Yeah, that's the PowerPoint. So it looks good. Should have brought my thing with me and had it. I have a question. There we go.
Okay. It's on here to play. And just do the down keys.
All right. So this is our biannual report. You also have an attachment there with the regular equalization report with all of the different townships' data for assessed values for the year. But I thought I'd kind of give you some highlights and a staff report of what equalization has been doing this last year and through the last few, actually. Right now, the L4024 equalization report, equalized values, has been filed with the State Tax Commission. Millage reduction fractions were just calculated and sent out to all taxing jurisdictions. The L4028 was filed with the STC. The L4029 is actually not out to local units yet. I still need one more signature, but that's going out this week. We are right now receiving our final PREs since they moved the deadline to June 1st, so we're getting those together to file the taxable values report to the STC, and that's due on the 24th, and the interim report is due on the 28th. And the next time you'll see me in here is for the appropriations report in October. This is just a little kind of a highlight of where equalization has been over the last number of years, number of documents, number of studies, properties visited, that type of thing. You can see that in 2006, we were at 5,831 total. It went down from there, of course, as the market declined. I think we lost one clerk in 2007. We lost another in 2009. And that was our low year with 1,629. And you can see that they're starting to come back up. Numbers are improving. Land divisions are up 91% from the low in 2010. Deed processing is up 56% from the low in 2010. And highlights from the equalization report itself. These are the top 20 taxable value corporations in Jackson County. It doesn't necessarily mean they're the top 20 taxpayers, because a lot of these include IFTs. If you look at this DPC Juniper, they have been under a REN zone for many years and are just coming back online right now. The ones that I've highlighted in yellow are those that are appealing at this point. So we're starting to see a little bit of an increase here in filings, but they are down significantly from what they've been for the last few years. I thought you might enjoy looking at this. This is something that I got from RE/MAX, and this is their average house price. This includes all sales, foreclosures, bank sales, all of that. So theirs had a high of 142 in 2004 and a low of 74 on an average in 2009. This is as we calculate them. And this kind of gives you an idea of where the highs and lows are in each township. And you can see that overall high values were in 2008 and low values were in 2011 overall. We still have some that are declining in value. Blackman Township, Leone, and the city of Jackson are still, their residential values are still declining at this point. We haven't done the study yet this year. What I've seen so far, the first half of the year, residential values were up about 12% from last year the same time. But we'll just have to wait and see over the summer how that shakes out and whether that increase continues. And these here are just assessed value changes over time. There's a 1-year comparison, a 10-year comparison, and the decreasing value from the high in 2007. So the 1-year comparison is down 0.38%. The 10-year comparison is down 4%, 4.2%. And from the high in 2007, we're down 21% overall. Taxable values, of course, it's moderated. We're down 0.12 over the last year. 10-year, the change is up 16%. And from the high in 2009, we're down 8% overall in taxable value. And this is just a comparison of, a chart of assessed and taxable values. You can kind of see how it's been running. And right now, we're at only about a 12% gap between taxable values and assessed values. This is the actual equalization report that we send in every year. Agricultural down 1.3, commercial down 4.3, industrial 5.3, residential pretty flat overall. Developmental is down, 9.3%, but most of that is because these parcels are being pulled out of developmental. There hasn't really been much development going on, so they're pulled out of the class as a whole. Total real property is down about 1%, but personal is up 7.3%. So that's where it moderates right there, and we are pretty much even. Ad valorem equalized values by class. You can see that we're at 4.7 billion with residential at 66%, personal at 9%. If you look at ad valorem and special acts parcels, so IFTs and that type of thing, you're at 4.9 billion, and with residential at 63%, personal at 11%. So you can see the personals and the IFTs are pretty significant. Other than that, staff is in the field. We also have received a couple of requests for proposal for assessing in a couple of smaller townships. So there are a couple of proposals out there. No response on those yet. With that, are there any questions? Yes.
The top 20 taxable value corporations, the ones you highlighted were you said were appealing.
Yes.
Appealing
to the tax tribunal. Or actually with DPC, they're in negotiations right now. I think they will appeal. They're in negotiations with the city or talks with the city at this point. But Walmart is appealing, Wolverine Technologies is in appeal, Allegiance Health is appealing. We just had a lot of filings there, and I'll, work with local assessors as need be to, help them out with those.
Ruth, the DPC, oh, I'm sorry, Dan. Go
Is
ahead.
this because some of those camps are coming off? Is that what they're
The
appealing?
DPC is, yeah, they're coming out of their run zones, so they've had no taxes for many years. Now they're at 50% this year. Last year they were at 25%, so they're finally, they've got a tax bill that they haven't had prior. So,
Think ahead.
yeah.
And Ruth, that DPC Juniper, is that the natural gas facility on the old Goodyear site?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what that is.
Any other questions? Sarah?
I just have a general question. When you do your studies, you have comparative numbers in there. I'm sorry, my computer restarted, so I can't go back to the slide, but how do you determine which, ag properties to, I guess?
To do an appraisal on?
Yeah.
It's random. We do mark the ones that we've already been at so that we don't go back to those again for a number of years. But they're literally just kind of going down a list and picking a representative sample. So they try to get some vacant, some improved in each township, and each township has to be done separately.
So do you just print a list and then randomly pick every 15th one, or is it computer generated? I mean,
No,
is there
no.
a process behind it, I guess?
Yeah,
I'm just asking on behalf of a constituent as well, so
Yeah,
that's why I'm
there is
curious.
a process, and they do have a random draw, although, like I said, every year, some are taken out that have been, because we don't want to go back every 2 years to somebody, so.
Do you just send them a letter asking them to participate? What if they decide they don't want to participate? Do you show up and just go there and say, hey, we sent you a letter?
Yeah, usually we send the letter out. If they want to contact us and schedule an appointment, they can. I just had a gentleman call last week, and he was pretty kind of agitated. And he said, this is still America, and, if I don't want someone on my property, I shouldn't have to. And I said, you're absolutely right. If you don't want someone there, you can decline, and that's, that's fine. If you want to be there, we can schedule an appointment with you. And that's what we did in his case. That's what he said, well, I just want to be there when they're there. So that's what we did.
So if he chose not to participate, would you just do it on your own anyways, or would you just wait
We would
another
try
year
to-
and see if he, changes his mind?
Well, it depends on whether we could get adequate information on the property. If we can tell a lot by aerials, if we can see a significant amount, from the road as far as the residence goes, if we can find another source for the information, we may still include it. If we can't, then we're going to have to exclude it and just move on to another parcel. All right. Yes.
I would just like to congratulate you on your recent accomplishment in becoming, I believe it's a assessor at level 4, am I correct? Congratulations, Ruth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Is
Ruth.
that good?
Airport. Did I see Kent Mauer here? I did. Kent, first up is the easement settlement for Aeroquip, looks like.
Yes, this is a proposed settlement for acquisition, financial compensation for the Eaton Aeroquip parcel. The easement would be over that parcel. This one was somewhat unique in that part of their land also is in the runway protection zone, which would prohibit any additional building. And even though that property falls off significantly from the level of their current building, it still would restrict them from any construction. And this went to facilitation. I used to call it mediation, but it went through facilitation. And in the memo, I'd like to highlight that it was headed for jury trial, and if the jury had sided completely with us, or exposure would be $178,000. That would be including the 78 we already paid. And those include the county legal fees plus Eaton's legal fees and all expert fees for both sides. If the jury sided with Eaton totally, the exposure, and this is an estimate because of those fees are, the exact fees for future legal work and expert fees are a little bit unknown. The maximum exposure would be $1.1 million, just a little over that. And so our attorney believes that this is fair. It's not unlike some other settlements that we've reached with other property owners, although this is an easement. And so if approved, it would go to the court. If approved by the county commission, go to the court as a consent decree, consent judgment. And that's an inclusive settlement, includes all of their legal fees and expert fees.
Kent, you've got a note here on the financial aspect of it, that it'll come from a forthcoming grant. We're pretty confident the grant's going to be there, right? And the 5% comes from what we've already set aside.
Yes, and the approval is contingent upon receiving that grant. We obviously would not have funding locally for this to pay for it. And we don't have the fund balance, nor would I recommend paying for it and being reimbursed. But we've met with MDOT Aeronautics, their property people, and their purse person up there, the financial person, and this is not unusual for them. They establish budgets for these property acquisitions. We had a total of 24 easements and parcels that we acquired, and absent this one, we were absolutely right on budget. About $3.6 million is what has been expended on acquisitions and parcels and easements. So it's contingent upon that, and we've been assured by MDOT Aeronautics that the grant is forthcoming.
Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, we'd be looking for recommendation to send it to the full board for approval, and it would be contingent, obviously, on the grant being approved.
So moved.
Motion? There's motion and support. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Kent, you've got at least one more thing, I think, right?
3 more.
Okay.
The next one and the next one after that are both related to final engineering for the runway project. These are both contingent upon receiving a grant from MDOT Aeronautics, which arrived on my desk last Friday, but obviously missing the deadline for this meeting. This is a contract with, I think the next one is SME, for relocation of soils related to the runway project and those in the footprint of the former landfill. And the reason this is called out is because it has an environmental aspect to it, and so it's been called out of the Mead and Hunt contract. And again, the digging out of these soils and the transportation of these soils are eligible for funding from the FAA and MDOT Aeronautics, and this is the design work for that part of the work. And SME was selected by an RFQ process a few years ago and has done work on the former landfill for us.
Ken, you said the grant is there on your desk, right?
It is on my desk.
And this one, I think, is what, 39,651? Is that
That's
the
correct.
So that gets approval here? Okay. Looking for a motion?
Move to approve the contract with SME.
Motion and support. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Kent?
The next contract is with our airport engineering firm, Mead and Hunt, in the amount of $659,540, and this is to do the final engineering for the runway 725 project. And this also will be funded by that grant that I've received and will be processed as soon as I can.
Okay, and this will go to the full board, so we're looking for a motion.
Make a motion to turn to the full board to approve the contract with Mead and Hunt for the amount of $659,540 to complete the engineering and design of runway project.
Support. Motion and support. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Kent, I think that's it, isn't it?
I have one more.
Okay.
This is a proposed purchase of a hoist, 5-ton hoist for our new snow removal equipment building. The building was engineered to support this hoist, and the beam for it is in place, but the FAA would not fund the actual hoist, which we argued for it, and we did not get it. I have 3 quotes for it, and Freedon Handling of Jackson was the low quote at $13,625. The funding is in our capital improvement budget, intended for buying this and some additional equipment down the road to outfit this building properly.
Okay, looking for a motion.
Move to approve the purchase of the hoist, $13,625.
Motion and support. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Kent, I think that's it for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. J.C. Dot. Abandon, vacate, and discontinue parts of a public highway. Michalski.
Thanks, Adam. Yes, good morning. We have a petition from a property owner that's adjacent to lots 61, 62, and 63 in Leone Township, in close proximity of Donnelly Road and Viking Drive. And back in 1940, the property owner gave us a deed to relocate the road through there. It was called Forest Drive at the time, and it was supposed to come up straight across Viking Drive, and all of a sudden, then they decided to make a curve in there. And so the straight portion of Donnelly Road was never abandoned. And so the attorney, Jennifer Kelly, who was representing the property owner in this case, they filed a petition. All the signatures were verified. They're all township residences. They paid the filing fee, and we wanted to recommend to clean this parcel up here that we abandon this section of the old Donnelly Road / Forest Drive. There should have been some copies in the doc there that Scott Ames prepared for me that gave you a much better visual of the situation. Steve?
I was looking for it. This is the part that's, what would be the cul-de-sac or dead end of Donnelly Road, correct?
No. This is a part of the through street of Donnelly Road where it crosses Viking Drive.
I think I've got it right here. Which one? It's better to show this one. Yeah. Okay, so. Man, Adam, this is sweet. It's coming out, but I'll put it on the projector.
Okay. Okay, and as you know, that the GIS department is in the process of trying to straighten up the lines on our aerials. And so it's a little bit offset from the way it's shown on that drawing. If you took that little piece, I don't have a laser here, but It's the part going straight up where it looks like a road should go, and you can see where the actual road is. Well, where the actual road is was a part that the property owner deeded to the road commission back in 1940, and at the time, the road commission was supposed to abandon that section there. So 73 years later, I think we're going to want to get that done. It just cleans things up. It doesn't affect anybody else other than the property owner, because she owns all three properties. And there's already a garage there, and it looks like part of the house is in the right-of-way too, when it actually isn't. Most of the garage is. So we just want to clean that up for the records. And then we have a resolution attached to that for the chair to sign, and then that goes to the Register of Deeds to get recorded, and back to the property owner. And
I would like to make a motion. You ready?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. To authorize the chair of the board to sign the resolution to abandon this piece of property and send it to the full board, please.
Motion and support. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thanks, Joe.
welcome.
Next up, item W, the bituminous materials bid. I think Chuck's going to handle that, I bet.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Chuck Waltz, JDOT. What we've had to bid for was bituminous materials, and this is a liquid material that we use. It's a hot liquid material that we use in our Durapatchers or our tar wagons that we put directly in a hole and then shovel stone into it. It's just like blacktop that we buy at Michigan Paving, except it's in a liquid form. We're asking for your approval for the lowest bidder here.
Julie?
I'd like the record to reflect under the executive summary. The dollar amount there states, in the middle of that executive summary, it states the estimated annual amount of, that says 20 gallons, and I believe that's 200,000 gallons.
20,000. That should say 20.
I'm sorry, 20,000, not
yeah.
20.
Yeah.
We're missing a zero there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? And if not, if we can have a motion.
Motion to approve the bid.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Great. You got scraper bid now, Chuck?
Yeah, scraper underbody blades. What these are for is they're put under our trucks. It's not the underbody itself, it's the blade that goes under, that attaches to the underbody, and it wears out mostly through snow removal, ice and snow removal. Them wear out, so we have to replace them. Sometimes, depending on the winter, the snow, we might have to replace a set of them. There's 2 under each truck. Every other day, maybe out on the county roads, so where we don't use quite so much sand and salt, trying to get the snow off of the road.
Chuck, what's the total amount?
That depends a lot, Dave, on the winter and how much we use them in the summertime. We try to use our road graders as much as possible, and therefore it doesn't wear out them quite so fast as what a truck does. But if we get a lot of snow during the winter, where we're out there day in and day out grinding them down, we go through a significant amount. The number I can't give you right now, I apologize.
Thank you. Julie?
Could you please refresh my memory? I remember when touring your facility, seeing the rubber, the tires.
Yes.
And those were being used to some extent for a similar purpose, correct?
Yeah, it's just something we try. We're always trying something new, trying to find something more effective, that lasts longer, less expensive. These underbody blades are very expensive. We can grind them down, like I said, we can grind a set down every other day. We gone to a thicker one now, so they don't grind down quite as often. Back when I used to scrape snow, we could put one on in the morning and go out and have it gone that night. So we can wear them out quite quick, and it just depends on like I said, we're always trying something different. Somebody's always got a better mousetrap that that we're trying out. You're welcome.
Okay, so Chuck, to be clear, you've estimated 300 blades. The bid is per foot, correct?
That's correct.
So we'd be approving the per-foot bid, and the recommendation is Michigan Cat.
Correct.
Okay. Looking for a motion, if there's no more questions? Shopping for a motion.
I'll make the motion to, for that bid right there, present it to us.
Support.
Motion and support. No other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Chuck. I think that concludes our regular agenda. Other business, we have claims.
Motion to pay the bills.
Support.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Make sure you sign it, please, also. Minutes for other committees are attached, as well as the July reporting schedule. And we're back to 3 minutes of public comment. Any public comment? Public comments closed. Committee member comments. Commissioners, any comments? Hearing none, we're adjourned.